Hello everyone and welcome back to 64 Squares Official. Today we are diving right into the high stakes knockout bracket of the recently concluded FIDE World Team and Blitz Championship in Hong Kong. We have got an absolute heavyweight clash from the quarterfinals between Team Uzbekistan and the defending champions WR Chess. But more importantly, we are looking at a battle of generations on board 1. Playing with white is Nodirbek Abdusattorov, the 21-year-old Uzbek superstar who has absolutely skyrocketed through the Blitz rankings over the last year, crossing the 2800 threshold to hit world number 3. Known for his ice-cold nerves, he has become a massive thorn in the side of elite grandmasters. And Magnus Carlsen is playing black, the undisputed god of modern chess. While he has been facing an incredibly rare and a rocky patch of form here in Hong Kong, Magnus remains the ultimate endgame predator and you can never ever count him out in a time scramble. So let's get straight into the game. E4, C5 and knight to F3 and G6. D4, C takes D4 and knight takes D4 and bishop to G7 and knight to C3 and knight to C6. Bishop to E3 and knight to F6. Both players are developing the pieces. Now bishop to C4. We land straight into the modern variation of the accelerated dragon. White develops aggressively toward the center, eyeing the weak F7 square, while black prepares a kingside castle safety. Now queen to A5 and both side castle on the king side, and bishop to B3 and D6 and H3 preventing any B4 ideas, and bishop to D7. Standard positional maneuvering. White steps back the bishop to avoid tactical traps on the C file and plays H3 to stop black's pieces from landing on G4, and Magnus quietly completes a development. Now F4 and knight takes a D4 and bishop takes D4 and bishop to C6, putting pressure on the E4 pawn. Now queen to D3 and knight to D7. Now bishop takes a G7 and king takes a G7. Rook A to E1. Now queen to C5 check. King goes to H2 and rook A to C8. The trade of dark squared bishops on G7 usually favors black structurally, as white's E4 pawn can become a target. Magnus shifts his queen to C5 with a check, plants his rook on the open C file and challenges white's space. The position is completely dead even. Now queen to G3 and B5. Now E5, D takes E5. Nodirbek pushes the envelope with a E5. He signals that he wants a sharp open tactical game. Magnus takes a pawn, daring the young prodigy to show his cards. Now F5. The inaccuracy. Nodirbek blinks first instead of recapturing with the F takes E5. To maintain a balanced structural grip, he pushes for immediate kingside complications. The computer turns a cold shoulder to this, giving black a clear advantage. Now A5 and A4. B takes A4 and knight takes A4, attacking the queen on C5. Now queen to B4, rook A1 and knight to F6. Now queen takes E5. Magnus immediately targets the B3 bishop with A5. White is forced to navigate loose pieces. By move 23, Abdusattorov manages to win the E5 pawn back, but his king safety is starting to show deep fractures. Now queen to E4, targeting the G2 pawn. Here is a missed opportunity, a rare positional misstep by the god. Magnus tried to force a queen trade to transition into a winning endgame, but it lets off the gas pedal. Sticking a rook on the d file with rook f to d8 would have kept the suffocating dynamic pressure alive. Magnus now invites white back into the game. Now queen to g3 and knight to h5, attacking the queen on g3. Now queen goes to f2 and queen a5 check. Now G3, here is the decisive weakness. Facing a nagging black knight, Nodirbek makes a critical and irreversible unforced error. Moving the pawn to G3 permanently compromises the dark squares around his king. Stepping back into safety with the king to G1 was mandatory. Now G takes F5. Now knight to B6, attacking the rook on C8. Now rook C to D8. Magnus is now getting an open rook file. Now knight to c4, attacking the queen. Now queen goes c7 and rook takes a5 and bishop to e4. Rook to c5 attacking the queen. Now queen goes d7 and g4 and knight to f6. Both players trade a rapid fire time scramble inaccuracies. Magnus misses an immediate punch with rook c to d8 on move 26, opting to shred the pawn structure instead. Nodirbek searches for active counterplay on the queen side, but the ticking time bomb next to his own king is about to detonate. Now g takes f5. This is a blunder by Abdusattorov. Completely cracks under time pressure. Opening the g file right next to his exposed king is suicide against Magnus Carlsen. King to g1 was the absolute last hope to build a fortress. Now king to h8 and queen to f4. This is a fatal error by Abdusattorov. This leaves his back rank and the lethal g file entirely unprotected. Magnus slides his rook over with cold-blooded precision. Now rook to g8. Magnus gets one more open rook file and knight to e3. The final nail, a desperate attempt to block the diagonal. It is now a forced checkmate in 12 moves. Now queen to d2 check and rook to f2 and queen to c1 and knight to g4 blocking the open file. And queen to h1 check and king to g3 and knight to h5 check. Magnus finishes it off in style. The king fork on f4 forces the king up. The spectacular queen check forces him wider and knight to h5 check leaves white completely paralyzed, facing the immediate loss of his queen and an inevitable checkmate. And it was in this position Abdusattorov resigns. What an absolute tactical thriller by the god. Even though Nodirbek would later bounce back in the rematch, this game proved that if you give Magnus Carlsen an open file and an exposed king, he will finish the job with absolute precision. So if you want to see more tactical collapses, Grandmaster masterclasses and instant game analysis just like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications and leave a comment on what game we should cover next. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.